All right, join me as I dive into the correctional supervisions and try to identify the most common mistakes supervisors makes and see if we can point some out and do some explanation for it.
Ready? Is you ready? Ready? You say you ready? Whole squad ready? Ready?
Now, as a correctional supervisor, we're often focused on the importance of the efficiency, safety, and rehabilitation of the department. Now, what about us supervisors? Are we doing everything that we can to create a positive, productive environment for our teams? Unfortunately, many correctional supervisors make common mistakes that can have significant impacts on our team and overall correctional environment. Now, these mistakes can lead to a decrease of morale, increased turnover, and even the safety incidents. Now, the worst part is that many of these mistakes can be avoided with the right training, experience, and mindset. So today I'm going to explore some of the most common mistakes correctional supervisors make, and more importantly, how they can be corrected. Now, someone who's worked with correction teams for a while, I've seen firsthand these mistakes and how it can affect not just the supervisors, but the entire team and the inmate population. Now, it's essential that we bring these issues to light and work together to create a better and supportive system. And it makes a better environment for us all. Now, one of the most crucial aspects of being a successful correctional supervisor is being aware of potential pitfalls and taking proactive measures to avoid them and recognizing these common mistakes that us supervisors makes. We need to take the necessary measures to improve our leadership skills and build trust with our teams and create a safer and efficient correctional environment. One of the biggest breakdowns we have is with communications. There are significant changes that faces correctional supervisors or challenges that we face. Now, when us supervisors don't communicate efficiently with our teams, it can lead to misunderstanding, errors, or even to conflicts. Now, this is especially crucial in high-stress environments that we all work. Corrections is a high stress because we're always watching our back 24/7. Now, where clear communication is essential for the safety and security, decisions made by correctional supervisors has a direct impact on the team and the correctional environment. However, making rash and uninformed decisions can have far-reaching consequences. That includes the conflicts, safety incidents, and decrease of morale. It's essential for our supervisors to take the time to gather all the information needed to make that decision. And we want to make the right decision, and we need to make it at the right time. Now, communication breakdown and decision-making errors in correction supervisors often struggles with delegations and prioritizing and time management. Now, when we don't make or delegate tasks efficiently or give the right officer the right task, it can lead to a burnout and decrease in productivity. Now, if we don't prioritize our task, it can lead to delays, inefficiencies, and safety risk. Now, another challenge by us correctional supervisors is building and maintaining trust with our teams. Building and maintaining trust with our teams is especially crucial in this environment that we work in. When supervisors don't take the time to build relationships with the team members, it can lead to a decrease in morale. Why can't a supervisor go in the dorm when they sign their paperwork and do the rounds, ask the officer how they're doing today? That day might be their bad day. They might need someone to talk to for a second there. Just stay there and ask them, hey, is there something I could do for you? When I make my rounds, I ask the officer, hey, is everything all right today? And if the officer just goes and starts rambling about the dormitory and stuff, I appreciate them telling me what's going on in the dorm. But when I ask that question, I'm really asking the person, hey, how are you doing today? Are you doing all right? Because I want to make sure that person's doing all right. I like to check on the staff and see how they are doing. I like to joke with the staff and that's what makes it hard sometimes with me, being a supervisor is when I have to get on the staff. I really do not like getting on the staff, but I do it because I have to. And lots of times it's to protect that officer. And I don't want people looking down because I have to get on these people. Because when I put things on paper, it's hard for me. But I do it because I have to. It's my job. And it's going to help protect that officer. Being a correction supervisor often can have can navigate to complex policies and procedures. It can be overwhelming to lead to mistakes. You got to be careful with policy and procedure. It's a thin gray line out there, and you don't want to cross that thin gray line, because when you cross that thin gray line as a supervisor, you're taking your officers with you, and you don't want nobody to get in trouble because you made the wrong decision or did the decision at the wrong timing, because certain things that we do has a time. It's essential for us supervisors to stay up to date with our latest policies and procedures. Policy and procedure change randomly. And I know when I look at the intranet and it talks at the bottom, it's got a paragraph that says, hey, this policy number here has changed, blah, 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 blah. And you look at it and come to find out the policy changed because you got a new secretary. And we get complacent, don't want to check it, because 9 times out of 10 it's nothing but they might have just put a comma in a spot, but they say, hey, this policy changed. But we need to always check it anyways, because it might be a realistic change that could affect the supervisor and the people working underneath that supervisor. Staffing is another significant challenge faced by correctional supervisors with high turnover rates, and that's why we need to go in them dorms and ask that officer how we're doing. So when we have turnover rate, we're limited on resources of who we're going to put in certain areas. That's another area where a lot of supervisors fail. When I started with the Department of Corrections, my post had a number on it, and I had to work a certain post. And if I didn't work that post, my supervisor had to write an explanation why I didn't work my post that day. But now, with the department I'm in, we don't have post numbers and I can assign my officers anywhere they need to be going. And where the downfall of doing that is, we'll put this officer here, and when you get short staffed, you have to move that officer to this area. And I've never worked this officer in a special housing unit. And now I lose morale because they think I'm picking on them. I'm not picking on you. I'm doing what the department needs to be done. I'm moving a more seasoned officer to an area. And because you're not strong in this area, that was my fault again, because I put you in this post every day and not get you experience in this area. And then we have all these new recruits, and I'm having to put a new officer in a high risk area because I don't have another name to put in that spot. So it's kind of like a sink and swim on that new officer. So when I do that, I need to put a very seasoned supervisor, sergeant in that spot to help that officer to grow. And sometimes when we put an officer in a spot too quickly, we can lose more spots from the new officers because they feel like they didn't get adequate training. That's another place we fail. We need to move our officers around. We shouldn't let them get comfortable in one same post. And that's where us supervisors, we get complacent, because when we do our roster management and we get like 14 days of rosters wrote up, it's easier for me to put your name in that spot because you work this dorm every day. Now, working that dorm every day is good and bad, because the good thing about that day is you know how that dorm's ran every day, and the inmates knows exactly what the rules are and how you're going to work it every day. Now, the downfall of me doing that is there might be a day I have to move you because you got experience and I'm short staffed, and I don't want to put a new officer in that spot. I need someone who's been certified for a while that knows the rules. That's where we can lose some of the morale. Now, we're going to dive into some more specific common mistakes correctional supervisors make. And one of the most crucial mistakes is failing to lead by example. When us supervisors don't be role models and behave like we're expected to, our team members, it can lead to a decrease in morale also, increased errors and safeties. Everything falls back on errors and safety, guys. And another common mistake is not providing regular feedback or coaching the team. When your team's doing well, let them know. If there's an area they're not doing well in, let's say, hey, let's get together and we'll work on this. Every day we're going to work on this until it becomes repetitious. We're going to do it every day until we get it right, and we're going to make sure we do it right. That's why some of our special teams we have inside the institutions, we're not talking about, when I talk about special teams, I'm not talking about the rapid response team or the strike teams, things like that. We're talking about the special teams inside of facilities that maintains the facilities before that rapid response team gets there. We need to make sure we're doing the right things for them until that team gets there. We need them to know what we're doing. We also fail to address and resolve conflicts. We need to take conflict and address it real quickly, promptly, and that's another common mistake we make in correctional supervision. When conflicts are left unresolved, it can escalate and lead to safety incidents, decrease of morale, and even legal issues. So we need to make sure we face our conflicts and resolve them. We also often fail to recognize and reward their team members, our achievements. If someone has made their first year, we need to make sure we bring it up and say, hey, like in the shift briefing, hey, so-and-so just made a year this year. Congratulate them. We're excited. Or someone who just graduated and got their certificate. They're now a new correctional officer. We need to address them and let them know we appreciate them, and we do appreciate our staff. Another thing that I've seen some supervisors do is not maintaining a fair and consistent disciplinary process. Now, where I'm at, the department, you have to submit everything, and central office does the discipline. But I elect to write certain things in my part of the incident reports that can trigger them processing that discipline quicker or something like that. And we need to be fair when we talk to different officers. If I can get on this officer for not doing this, and I don't get on this officer for doing the same exact thing, I'm in the wrong. And that happens a lot because sometimes we let other officers get away with certain that they should not be getting away with. We also fail in getting in the industry's developments and the best practices. Another common mistake that we do. We're not aware of the latest research, the technology and strategies that can lead to the decreased efficiency and increase the errors and even the safety of the incidences. The most common mistake correctional supervisors make is not prioritizing our own self-care and wellness. We get so bogged down trying to make sure the shift is doing what they're supposed to do, we forget about ourselves. And when we forget about ourselves and take care of our own self, we get the burnout. And when we get burnout, it leads to increased errors and even safety for our staff that works for us. As supervisors that's burnt out, is not efficient to be out there in special housing directing traffic in the middle of a use of force because someone can get hurt or killed. We need to try to stay highly aware and try to stay away from that burnout situation, because if someone gets hurt because of my decision, I'm going to be really upset. As I stated earlier, when I go in and make my rounds, I want to build a relationship with a staff member. I want to make sure everything is all right with that staff member. And if we don't build that rapport and that relationship with staff, we'll lose that morale. That's a big mistake we do. Failing to empower their team members. Supervisors don't give their team members the autonomy to make decisions, take ownership of their work, their development. That's one thing I like to do is I give that supervisor a dormitory, and that's why it gets me upset when I get a phone call, say, Lieutenant Randall, could you 45 me? I have an inmate that needs to go see medical because it got a medical emergency. It irritates me. I get that phone call because I gave you ownership of that dorm. I want you to run that dorm. Why did you call me to tell me that inmate is needs a medical and has a medical emergency? You're the supervisor of that dorm that I gave you control over. Restrain the inmate and take them to medical. Now, when you get to medical and they say, hey, this inmate needs to go outside for medical treatment, or he's going to be sent to the infirmary for observation, call me and say, hey, inmate so-and-so had a medical emergency and we escorted him to medical and this is what's going on. I appreciate that. And because you took leadership, you're running your dorm. That's how it was when I first started. And a lot of supervisors in the sergeant role forget that they're supervisors too. And they don't take ownership of their area. Because when you calling me and telling me, hey, this inmate has got a medical emergency, he needs to go to medical, and you're calling me, the first thing I think mentally is, I'm not the doctor. I didn't have medical treatment or training. So why did you call me? You need to call medical. Get medical down there. He's got a medical emergency. He don't have a supervisor emergency. He's not banging on the door. He's not creating a disturbance. He's got a medical emergency. Let's get medical there. So it's important that we give you ownership. And the reason why this supervisor called me to tell me he got a medical emergency, because apparently he had a supervisor prior of getting a hold of me that wouldn't give him the ownership of his dorm. Apparently micromanaging doesn't work like that. You know, apparently he had a micromanager that wanted to know every damn thing that goes in that dorm. I didn't want my supervisors knowing everything I had going on in my dorm. I take care of stuff myself. As you move up ranks from officer, you move to sergeant. As a sergeant, you're looking out, as an officer, you're looking out for your sergeant. You help your sergeant and keep him in line. Now, your sergeant is supposed to be helping look at your lieutenant and captain and help keep them in line. And the captain's looking out for your major and your colonel. You know, we're trying to watch each other's back, because certain things you don't need to go all the way up to the channels to get higher, because you need to cut it off early. And that's one of the errors we get. We get too much traffic going up to the top. And when we get too much traffic up there, they're looking at all the wrong things. They ain't got time to look at the perspective of what we need to be doing. Now, we need to avoid these common mistakes as supervisors and create a more positive, productive, and safer correctional environment. That's what we need to do. We need to do things that we need to do. Now, I enjoy being a correctional supervisor. And as I stated earlier, the one thing I don't like doing is I don't like getting on to staff. But when I get on to staff, it's because it's needed. If I tell you to secure a security extended flap, and I go in your dorm the next day and you still got the guillotine up, and I tell you one more time nicely, but the third day I go in there, I don't care that the flap is covered at the top and the guillotine is open. Yes, he can't stick his hand out, but the guillotine's there for a reason, and the guillotine has a little hole where I'm at, and you can still get assaulted because that guillotine, when it's open, it creates a little hole where they throw food, feces, that cocktail, that poopy cocktail stuff can go through the hole. I've been assaulted by that little hole. That's one reason I have a pet peeve about that damn guillotine being up. I've been assaulted by that guillotine being up. So I'm nicely, I tell you, don't do it. And the third time I tell you, don't do it. I don't know why I feel bad about writing you up, because I didn't told you 3 times, but I still feel bad about having to write you up and you get disciplined over that. But it's for your safety. That's what you got to realize, for your safety. It's essential for us to take a step back to reflect to our leadership styles and identify areas of improvement. And if you're not a correctional supervisor, I encourage you to share your own experience in your insight and comments below. Tell me your thoughts on what are the common errors your supervisors does, and tell me what they could do to make things better. I appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. Please subscribe to the channel so we can grow it some more. And if you have any other concerns, get a hold of me. Also, check out InsideTheBars.store